Right? We have heard this before, that many caretakers and families are worried, if I introduce an AAC device, will this stop my child from learning natural speech and language? And the unfortunate consequence of something like that is that there's going to be this wait and see approach. Families are hanging on, are waiting to implement AAC because they still have those hopes that eventually maybe speech is going to develop. And we know that from early intervention research, as earlier as we get things started, whether it's AAC or it's ABA therapy, as better is the outcome and as better is the later prognosis. So if you have this wait and see approach, it can be almost counterproductive in the sense that you're depriving the child from strategies that are potentially helpful and that will lead in the end to a better prognosis. So does AAC indeed not prevent speech, and can it have a facilitative effect? Very important question for the clinical AAC research community to answer. We looked at this within our iPad-based research and monitored these outcome variables, speech production, in addition to teaching individuals requesting. The basic design is the same as before, so we don't have to go through this in that much depth. I'm going to show you a few videos from this participant pool where we looked at speech production, and most of the kids, all of the kids diagnosed as severely autistic and all labeled as having no functional speech and language, but few had echolalic skills. And I want to focus in on one participant that presented with severe echolalia.
What does that mean?
There's a really weird room.
Look what I have. See, you want the toothpaste. Look what I have. Okay, you want the pretzel.
So again, very typical profile of a learner with severe autism, hasn't mastered any of the AAC strategies yet, grabs, reaches for items, and his speech repertoire so far consists primarily of echolalia, alderum, alderum. This is what we call idiosyncratic speech. He has made words up and then uses them for all types of purposes, maybe also for self-stimulatory behaviors. Some other self-stim speech is e, and isupe, and then there was one repetitive echolalic portion where he picked up "there's a holy world" and he is repeating this over and over again. All right. So let's see what we took him through those PECS phases and on the iPad and made him read those sentences again, encouraging him to say the utterances with his own voice. And here's a video clip during the middle stages of PECS intervention on an iPad with him.
Toothpaste.
Can you say it, David?
I want toothpaste.
Excellent. Nice job saying it. It's a toothpaste.
Alright, thank you.
David, to you. David, push this button. Good.
I want
Toothpaste.
Say it one more time for me.
I want toothpaste.
That's your toothpaste.
Toothpaste, really good. I want
Toothpaste.
You say it.
I want toothpaste.
Good job. The toothpaste.
All right, so what we have seen here is he is still engaging in a lot of his severely autistic behaviors. The hand flapping, jumping up and down, lots of vocal stimming still going on. But we were able to shape some of that echolalia into a more meaningful utterance, that he could actually repeat that sentence that he was constructing. You could also observe that once I was not paying so much attention to him, or once the trial was completed, he immediately wanted to go back into his very autistic behaviors. So very quickly had to give him a prompt to stay tuned, stay focused on working with the iPad. But once he gets into that mode, it became a little bit better. People always ask me, why does he want toothpaste? Because of his sensory experiences in his oral cavity. Many kids on the autism spectrum have like this very low threshold for, you need to give them a very strong stimulus so that they can experience, they can feel, sense anything at all in their mouth. So the toothpaste and all these other items here, the bacon, the very crispy chips, those all deliver very intense sensory stimulation once they are in the oral cavity. That's why he prefers those. Then a lot of caretakers, parents ask, when you do implement AAC, is the child going to be dependent on AAC for the rest of their developmental period, trajectory, and so forth? And with this individual and some others as well, we were able to demonstrate they don't have to get stuck with that. We can actually make an attempt to fade the iPad out, or whatever device it is. It can be the iPad, can be an SGD. So let's look at this one.
I'm proud of the house. Oh, I'm big candy cane. You want your big candy cane? There's your big candy cane. Can you say it in your big voice? You want a big candy cane? Nice job. You want a big candy cane? Nice job. One big one. Can you say it one more time? You want a big candy cane? There's your big candy cane.
All right, so now he can do his requesting completely with his own voice. It's still a little bit scripted, quite a bit actually, but the iPad is no longer there, and we can jump in with more regular speech and language therapy, not so much dependent on the device. I'm going to skip over this one. This is another individual, also very severely autistic and having more of problem behavior types of issues. And he got to the point that he was making initial sounds of the words that were on his iPad. Here are those results we replicated across clinic, school, and home settings. This is the individual you saw with the echolalic speech. Easily to teach him PECs on an iPad, and got to the stage that he could do little sentences with 2 attributes, and then it was actually across all the different settings not a big deal to fade that iPad out and have him request with his speech only. And that effect, using his own voice to request, that was well maintained in all 3 settings 6 weeks after the intervention had started. This is his speech. It's a little bit complicated. We tried to code all types of variations that he had in his speech production. So if we just want to look at the non-intentional utterances, those echolalic and vocal stimming behaviors, we can see they are existing quite high in the beginning, and then over the course of intervention, they don't get completely down to 0 baseline levels, but they get quite reduced, whereas these violet points, this is his word approximations or full word utterances, those go from 0 baseline levels to quite an impressive level of natural speech production, and again replicated across all 3 different settings. Not for everybody there is such a strong result, but it seemed like for those that came to the study with some existing vocalization or speech repertoire already, whether it was these echolalic utterances or some vocal stimming, they seem to do fairly better than those that were completely non-vocal, or so to say, or non-verbal from the get-go. The results for the other four are on your handout. I want to show one more example from a current parent training study that's going on. Parents get an intensive workshop, get modeling of how to do iPad intervention with their child, again following that PECS training approach. Here's a dad that works with a little girl that has also severe autism. And again, this is baseline before intervention starts. She doesn't know how to operate the iPad. You can see a lot of these typical vocal stimming, repetitive, stereotypical behaviors. Okay, and here is teaching phase 1 of PECS on an iPad.
Checks.
Yeah, excellent. This is good.
She still needs a little bit of prompting to learn how to operate the device. And again, we taught Dad to make an attempt to give her a verbal model that she could imitate. And this gets better and better. And here's her performance during the more final phases.
Pringles.
I want Pringles. I want Pringles.
Pringles.
Can I have the iPad? iPad is taking it away.
I want Fruit Roll. I want Fruit Roll. I want Fruit Roll.
Fruit roll-ups. I want Tostitos.
I want Tostitos. I want Tostitos. Tostitos.
That's raisins.
I want Pringles. I want Pringles.
All right, the purpose here was to also encourage some more spontaneous use of the iPad and spontaneous requesting. So we were trying to take away as much prompting as possible. You could see that she still has some of her autistic behaviors, like the stimming on the table, and the speech is there. It's still somewhat echolalic because she repeats it a little bit too often. But again, we were able to shape that aberrant speech into a more meaningful speech production. The results for her came out fairly positive, couldn't have been much better, and the red points also show generalization over to requesting toys. Talked about the value of generalization before, so in our later studies, more recent studies, we have been trying to tackle with that quite a bit, teaching them one item request, one class of items requesting for snacks on the iPad, and then going in, taking regular generalization probes to see if this transfers over to previously untaught items. In this case, it's toys. But again, it's not like that we can expect this for every child. It seems like for those that have some type of speech, even if it's aberrant going in the beginning, they do better. Other participants are making also progress, but not quite to this impressive rate than these two children did. And her increase in speech production, quite impressive. Others are remaining pretty much non-verbal, minimally verbal through the phase, or are just about to start to increase their speech production as we are moving along. So there's definitely no truth about this myth that AAC prevents speech. There might actually be a particular role for AAC in enhancing natural speech, particularly for those that come to us with some more echolalic utterances, and we want to try and shape this into more meaningful productions. Augmented input by the device, that the device gives them a speech model and then that the parent or caretaker gives them also a speech model, might enhance expressive and receptive communication development. And the research shows, as well as the clinical experiences at Little Star, that these PACS principles, these behaviorally derived teaching strategies, they hold true regardless of what the modality is. If you're using this on a textbook or you're doing it on an iPad with an appropriate app. So the participants mastered the iPad intervention, but there was quite some variability in completing later protocol phases. You can't expect that everybody goes through all the phases and accomplishes all of them and gets to this very sophisticated skill of also producing natural speech along the way. That might depend on what is their actual comorbid intellectual disability and what, like I said before, what are their pre-treatment speech skills. If there is some type of speech present, even if it's echolalic, it seems to make for a more favorable result in the end. Nevertheless, we feel that the results that we have so far, they underscore the potential of including parents and maximizing the benefits of AAC intervention.